Dear Chosen One, do you feel pains that have no explanation? Fatigue that lingers no matter how much you rest? Do you find yourself wondering why you're so drained, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, even when life seems normal on the surface? Maybe it's not your body that's broken. Maybe it's your mind asking for help. Yes, your mind, and for the chosen ones, those who carry a different sensitivity, a deeper awareness, a sacred calling, this internal battle can be even more intense. You don't just feel your own pain, you absorb the unspoken weight of the world around you. What appears physical might actually be emotional. What you've normalized as stress might actually be a desperate signal from your soul. Your body is not betraying you. It's trying to save you. Repressed emotions, unhealed trauma, hidden anxiety, these don't disappear, they transform. And when they do, they show up as tension, fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, and illness. That's your inner world crying out through your physical form, begging for your attention. And here's the most dangerous part. Over time, many chosen ones learn to live with this suffering as if it's just a part of who they are. But it's not. It's not just how life is. It's not your fault. And it's not too late to turn this around. It's your soul waving a flag, asking you to listen. Because if you're going to fulfill your divine assignment, you must first learn to care for the vessel carrying that purpose, you. So, in this video, I'll walk with you through 5 unmistakable signs that your mind may be making you sick, and more importantly, how you can begin to heal without losing your soul in the process. This isn't shallow self-help. We won't bypass the spiritual side of healing or pretend that what you feel isn't valid. We'll go straight to the heart of it, because your emotional well-being cannot wait any longer. And to every beautiful soul who has supported this message through super thanks, thank you. Your generosity helps me keep creating truth-filled, healing content for others who need it most. Whether you've donated or not, please know that your presence here means the world to me. I am truly, deeply grateful for you. If this speaks to something deep inside you, something you've been unable to name but always knew was there, then stay with me until the end. This may be the very message your spirit has been waiting for. And if you feel aligned with this journey, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and comment 777 below to say, I'm ready to heal. Let's fill this space with light, unity, and chosen ones who are done suffering in silence. Now, let's begin this sacred conversation. It's time to take care of the one thing that affects everything else, your mind. God's chosen ones, 5 signs that your mind is making you sick and how you should deal with it. God's chosen one. Your body is crying the tears. Your mind tries to hide. Have you ever felt a pain that no scan could detect, but it still lives with you every single day? Have you ever tried to articulate the pressure inside your chest, the exhaustion in your bones, the dull ache behind your eyes, only to be met with confusion or silence? What if that pain isn't just physical, but emotional, spiritual even? What if your body has become the voice for all the parts of you that were never allowed to speak? Chosen one, let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly felt safe enough to fall apart? Not just privately, in secret, but in front of someone else. When was the last time someone looked at you and said, "You don't have to carry it all"? You see, the pain that doesn't bleed, the pain that doesn't bruise, is often the one that screams the loudest from the inside out. And because you've been chosen by God, your sensitivity is divine, but so is your vulnerability. The world has taught you to be strong, to smile through the struggle, to hold your tears in like warriors hold their breath before battle. But what happens when the war isn't outside, but inside your soul? What happens when you suppress sadness for so long that it settles into your body like uninvited guests that refuse to leave. In Proverbs 14:10, we are reminded, "Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can share its joy." That scripture is not a condemnation, it's a holy confirmation. Only you and God know what you've truly endured. And if no one else has told you this today, let me be the one to say it. What you're feeling is real. The fatigue that no rest can cure, the tension that no massage can fix, the restlessness that no routine can quiet. These are not illusions. These are echoes. Echoes of every emotion you never had the time, space, or safety to feel fully. But why do the chosen ones feel it more deeply than others? Why do you carry such invisible burdens with no clear cause? Because God placed in you the ability to sense more, see more, and hold more. But sometimes what you hold isn't meant to be stored. It's meant to be surrendered. Think about Florence Nightingale, who changed the face of nursing around the world. Did you know she suffered for decades from what many now believe was chronic fatigue syndrome, a condition no one could diagnose at the time? Her body carried more than physical strain. It bore the pain of others, the weight of systems, and the spiritual stress of a soul that saw suffering the world refused to acknowledge. Her affliction was never a sign of weakness. It was a sign that her mission was not just physical, but sacred. Could the same be true for you, chosen one? You walk through the day appearing strong, responsible, capable, but your body is quietly crying the tears your mind has silenced, a back that stiffens when you're overburdened, a stomach that twists when you suppress the truth, skin that flares up when your heart is inflamed by emotions you don't let rise. You've learned to be silent. You've learned to be the strong one. But what if silence is no longer strength? What if your body's telling you it's time to stop pretending you're okay? The Apostle Paul once said in 2 Corinthians 4:16, "Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day." But how can your inner being be renewed if your body is falling apart? How can you walk in your divine calling if the temple carrying your soul is collapsing under pressure? Have you ever wondered why you often feel more exhausted than the people around you? Why you crash so deeply even after small emotional moments? Why you can't just shake it off like others seem to? It's because you are absorbing the world in ways others aren't even aware of. Your spirit functions like an emotional sponge, but even sponges must be wrung out, or they begin to mold and decay. Are you overdue for a soul-cleansing release? Think of Chadwick Boseman, who embodied strength and grace on screen while quietly battling colon cancer. He didn't speak of his pain, but you could see it in his eyes, the depth, the fatigue, the weight of something sacred and heavy. His silence wasn't weakness, it was reverence. He channeled his suffering into legacy. But what if he had allowed himself to rest more? What if the world had made space for his pain, not just his power? You, chosen one, are not a machine. You are a vessel, and a cracked vessel cannot carry divine oil unless it is mended. But how do you begin to mend when life keeps demanding more from you every day? In Isaiah 53, 3-4, we're told of Jesus himself. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. If the Son of God knew the language of suffering, why do you think you must escape it to be worthy? You might be thinking, but I don't have time to feel. I don't have the luxury to fall apart. Chosen one, this is not about luxury. It's about survival. It's about sacred maintenance. Just as you wouldn't drive a car without refueling it, you cannot fulfill your divine assignment if you keep running on emotional fumes. Even Naomi Osaka, one of the most powerful athletes in the world, stepped away from competition to protect her mental health. That act wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. The world didn't understand at first. They called her fragile. But in truth, she was modeling something deeply divine, that rest is not retreat, it is responsibility. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus calls directly to you, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest is not a betrayal of your purpose. It is preparation for your next elevation. And here's the hardest question of all. When will you start believing that you matter too? That your mission is not more important than your health? That your heart matters as much as your hands? That your soul doesn't just deserve peace? It requires it in order to thrive. The next time your body gives you a signal, a sudden migraine, tightness in your chest, knots in your stomach, pause. Don't rush to medicate. Don't push it aside. Ask it, what are you trying to tell me? What am I refusing to feel? What have I buried so deeply that it has nowhere left to go but my own bloodstream? Even King David cried out in Psalm 38 verse 8, "I am feeble and utterly crushed. I groan in anguish of heart." You're not the first chosen one to cry without explanation, and you won't be the last. But if you dare to honor your inner voice now, you could be the first in your family to heal from centuries of silent pain. And maybe healing doesn't look like a vacation or a retreat. Maybe it starts with something as small and sacred as breathing, as weeping, as saying out loud, "I am not okay, and I deserve to be." You weren't chosen to suffer endlessly. You were chosen to be transformed. And transformation begins with truth. It begins with pausing long enough to listen not to the world's expectations, but to your body's divine warnings. Michael Jackson, often misunderstood and deeply sensitive, once said, "I feel their pain. I see the stuff that's going on, and I cry." Behind every performance was a soul crying for space to be real. Don't let your smile become your mask. Don't let your strength become your prison. What's the point of a divine purpose if your soul collapses under the pressure? And finally, hear these words from Jeremiah 17:14. "Heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved, for you are the one I praise." Healing doesn't start with solutions. It starts with surrender, with saying, God, I'm tired of pretending. Show me how to rest. Show me how to release. So if you've been aching more than usual, if your tears have dried up but the sadness remains, if your peace has become a rare visitor, stop. Listen. God isn't punishing you through this pain. He's calling you back to yourself. Your body is not betraying you. It's trying to save you. Let it. God's chosen one. When you don't speak, your body screams for you. How many times have you smiled and said, "I'm fine," while something inside you was quietly falling apart? How many mornings have you risen with a tight chest, a knot in your stomach, a weight pressing down on your soul, and yet you still got dressed, still walked out the door, still told the world everything was okay? Why do you, chosen one, continue to play the role of the strong one, even when your inner world is crumbling? There's a secret many chosen ones carry, a silence that echoes louder than words. It's the ability to walk through pain without speaking of it, to feel overwhelmed but continue serving others, to grieve while smiling in photos. But have you ever wondered, what happens to the pain you don't release? Where does it go? Do you think it just disappears? It goes into the body. It becomes the body's burden. And when your mouth stays silent, your body starts to speak. It might begin subtly, a headache, tension in your jaw, restless sleep. Then it escalates, sudden anxiety with no clear trigger, digestive issues that no medication can solve, panic attacks that wake you in the middle of the night, insomnia that drags on for weeks. You call it stress or just being tired. But what if these aren't just random symptoms? What if they're divine messages, coded signals from your soul that you've been ignoring? In Psalm 32, 3-4, the psalmist writes, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me, my strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. These are not metaphors. These are physiological truths. Your silence has weight, and your body bears it. Chosen one, how long have you been ignoring your own warning signs? Think about it. Your body is brilliant. It remembers what your mind suppresses. It keeps score when you choose not to feel. The tears you never cried, stored in your lungs, tightening your breath. The rage you never voiced, hardened into neck and shoulder pain. The heartbreak you never admitted, echoed in the irregular thump of your own heart. Do you believe God would create your body to lie? Number. Your body was designed to be a mirror of your spirit, a living, breathing temple. When the temple trembles, the spirit is trying to say something. Lady Gaga, a creative soul deeply sensitive to emotion, has spoken openly about her chronic pain, fibromyalgia, nerve dysfunction, inflammation. Doctors ran every test, but what truly helped her was learning to honor her pain instead of hiding it. She realized her body wasn't betraying her. It was asking her to slow down and listen. And you, chosen one, may be going through something similar. Maybe your mind has grown weary of warning you, and now your body has taken over the task. It's speaking through symptoms, through tension, through fatigue that no sleep can fix. What if you finally stopped brushing it off? What if, instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you asked, "What is my pain trying to reveal?" This is the spiritual courage you must now embrace, to listen without resistance, to feel without judgment, to pause without guilt. Why do you think you're here right now reading these words? Could it be that God is using this very moment to get your attention? In Isaiah 1:5-6, Scripture gives us a sobering image. Your whole head is injured, your whole heart afflicted, only wounds and welts and open sores, not cleansed or bandaged or soothed with olive oil. The body suffers when the soul is ignored. The injury of the heart leaks into the flesh. Have you bandaged your wounds, chosen one, or have you simply hidden them? Even now, as you reflect, there might be a subtle ache rising, a familiar discomfort returning. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. You are remembering the body's cry, and perhaps you've normalized it. I've always had bad digestion. I never sleep well. My shoulders are always tense. But chosen one, just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's divine. You've learned to adapt to dysfunction because you were never taught how to pause for healing. Avicii, the world-renowned DJ and music producer, lit up stages across the globe while silently suffering from deep anxiety and stress-related illnesses. Despite the fame and fortune, his body collapsed under the weight of unspoken anguish. By the time he stopped, it was too late, and the world wept, not just for his talent, but for the silence he carried. Let his story break the illusion that success equals peace. Your mission, no matter how anointed, cannot be fulfilled in a body that's collapsing. And you were not chosen to die in silence. You were chosen to live in truth. In 1 Kings 19:11-12, God comes to Elijah not through the wind, not through the earthquake, not through fire, but in a gentle whisper. That whisper could be your stomach pain, your dry throat, your exhaustion. Small things, yes, but they carry sacred truths. The world rewards performance. God rewards presence. When was the last time you were present with yourself? Even Beyoncé, hailed as a queen of discipline and strength, shared that her body shut down after years of pushing beyond its limits. She had to unlearn the belief that rest was weakness. She had to remember that the vessel is just as holy as the vision. You may not be dancing in front of millions, but your soul has performed long enough. You've worn the mask, smiled through tears, carried burdens while convincing everyone you were blessed. But now your body refuses to keep pretending. What would happen if you let yourself break? Not break down, but break open, to stop, to weep, to admit, I am not okay, and I matter too. Whitney Houston, another divine voice, was burdened not just by fame but by inner torment. She sang songs that healed the world while her own body slowly withered under unhealed wounds. Her voice was powerful but her pain louder. She too was a chosen one, and like many, she needed more than applause. She needed healing. So I ask you, chosen one, what do you need that you've been denying yourself? Maybe it's not medicine. Maybe it's not a vacation. Maybe it's not another motivational sermon. Maybe it's silence, stillness, self-compassion, a sacred space to say, I hurt, without explaining or apologizing. In Proverbs 4:23, we're reminded, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. But guarding your heart doesn't mean building a wall. It means nurturing what lies within. If your heart is tired, the flow of your life will be too. What if today is the day you give yourself permission to feel? What if today, instead of powering through, you chose to pause? Let your breath return. Let your hands unclench. Let the ache rise and speak. This isn't weakness. This is holy honesty. So what now? Start small. 5 minutes of stillness. Journaling your symptoms without judgment. Lying in bed and placing your hand over your chest while you whisper, what do you need, body? Ask your pain for its wisdom. Ask your symptoms for their message. God isn't asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to be present. He isn't asking for your non-stop strength. He's asking for your surrender. He isn't ignoring your body. He designed it to protect your purpose. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That rest is not a metaphor, it is a medicine, and it's waiting for you now. Let this be your invitation, chosen one, not to do more, not to push harder, but to listen, to honor the divine signals woven into your flesh, to stop treating your body like a machine, and start treating it like the sacred temple it is. You are not alone. You were never meant to carry all of this without pause. Let the healing begin, not with solutions, but with attention, not with fixing, but with love. You've spent so long being there for others. Now it's your turn. And maybe, just maybe, that soft whisper in your spirit is not weakness rising, but your healing finally arriving. God's chosen one. When strength becomes the cage you can't escape, you learned to be strong, didn't you? From an early age, strength was your language of survival. You were taught, directly or indirectly, that showing weakness was unsafe. That vulnerability would be used against you. That crying made you soft. Asking for help made you a burden. And saying, I'm not okay, made you unreliable. So you did what you had to do. You put on your armor. You smiled with a shattered heart. You laughed while suffocating inside. You became a fortress in the middle of a battlefield, not because you wanted to, but because you had no choice. But here's the sacred question you must now ask yourself. Chosen one, at what cost? What happens when the armor you built to protect yourself becomes the very thing making you sick? Maybe you've felt it lately. The tightening in your chest, the breath that doesn't quite reach your lungs, the exhaustion that sits behind your eyes like fog. And no one sees it, because your armor works. It hides the cracks, it shields the wounds, but it also traps the pain inside until the only way out is through the body. The Bible speaks to this truth in Psalm 38, 8-9. I am feeble and utterly crushed. I groan in anguish of heart. All my longings lie open before you, Lord. My sighing is not hidden from you. Even the strongest among us, those called, those chosen, reach a point where the soul can no longer bear the weight, where the groaning is no longer metaphorical, but felt in the bones. Do you recognize yourself in this? Are you the one others turn to for wisdom, for comfort, for strength, while inside your own foundation trembles from years of emotional labor no one acknowledges? You are the lighthouse. But who notices when your own light flickers? Consider Simone Vile, the French philosopher and mystic who embodied the chosen soul's burden. She lived with radical compassion, suffering voluntarily alongside the poor, the oppressed, the voiceless. She intellectualized strength while living in a body plagued by fatigue, emotional collapse, and eventual physical deterioration. Her refusal to prioritize her own well-being was seen as noble, but it also contributed to her early death. She carried the world, but never let it carry her. And you, chosen one, may be doing the same. There is a lie that's been whispered to you your whole life. You must be strong for everyone else. There is no space for your weakness. But what if that lie has cost you peace, health, and freedom? What if the courage God is calling you into now is not more strength, but finally laying the armor down? That might feel impossible. You've been wearing this armor so long that it feels like skin. But under the steel is a soul, tender, tired, and desperate for air. Ask yourself, why do I feel guilty when I need rest? Why do I feel ashamed to say, I'm not okay? Why do I think that everyone else deserves compassion, but not me? These are not harmless thoughts. They are spiritual fractures. And every time you ignore them, the crack widens. In 2 Corinthians 1:8, Paul confesses, "We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself." Even Paul, the apostle of strength and endurance, broke under pressure. And his honesty about that suffering wasn't weakness, it was revelation. God never asked you to be unbreakable, He asked you to be available. There's a difference. One requires hiding the pain, the other requires exposing it to the light so healing can begin. Think of Frida Kahlo, a soul who painted her agony into portraits because no one else could carry it with her. Her body was shattered in a bus accident, but her emotional wounds ran deeper: grief, betrayal, chronic illness. She created beauty from pain, but the world often applauded the art while ignoring the agony. That is the paradox of being chosen. People celebrate what you produce without understanding what it cost you. Does that sound familiar, chosen one? And maybe, just maybe, you've learned to hide even from yourself. You know how to push past tears. You know how to keep busy when the grief comes knocking. You know how to change the subject when the truth gets too close. But your body doesn't forget. Your body is your last witness, and when the heart cannot speak, the skin will react, the organs will strain, the breath will shorten, the immunity will drop, the breakdown will begin. That's not a curse, it's a cry for help. In Proverbs 18:14, the Bible says, "The human spirit can endure a sick body, but who can bear a crushed spirit?" A body can heal from injury, but when the spirit is crushed from carrying invisible weights, it turns that pain inward, and healing becomes more complex. So what now? Start by asking this: what is my armor hiding? What part of me have I denied in the name of strength? Maybe it's the sadness you were told to suppress. Maybe it's the fear you were taught to call faith. Maybe it's the loneliness no one suspects because you're surrounded by people who admire your strength but never check on your soul. Anthony Bourdain, a brilliant storyteller and cultural explorer, took the world on journeys to places few had dared. But behind the confident voice and captivating presence was a man wrestling with inner demons. His loss wasn't just a tragedy, it was a reminder that even those who seem fearless may be silently unraveling. Chosen one, you don't need to wait for collapse to allow yourself to be human. You don't need to wait for a diagnosis, a breakdown, a crisis. You can choose now to pause, to peel away the armor, to say the sacred words, "God, I need help too." What would it look like to give yourself permission to not be okay? Would the world really fall apart if you cried instead of leading another meeting? Would your worth vanish if you admitted you felt lost? Would God love you less if you confessed your strength had run dry? You know the answer. Number. In fact, your healing may depend on that confession. Isaiah 40:29-31 offers this assurance. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. God doesn't renew the strength of those who pretend. They renew those who surrender. So surrender. Let the tears come. Let the truth rise. Let the armor fall. And as it does, you'll begin to feel what you forgot existed. Space. Breath. Grace. You were not created to hold the whole world. You were created to shine in your part of it. And light doesn't need armor, it needs release. Let's get practical, chosen one. Begin by recognizing the rituals that reinforce your emotional armor. The quick, "I'm good" replies, the overcommitment, the refusal to rest, the fear of silence. These are not random habits, they are trauma-trained reflexes. And the healing begins by disrupting them. Have a moment of stillness, 5 minutes, 10. Light a candle, breathe deeply. Ask, where am I hiding from myself? Write the answer down. Let the answers come without judgment, without solutions. Just listen. Then reach out to a friend, a mentor, a counselor, or to God in whispered prayer beneath your breath. Healing doesn't need a crowd. It needs intention. You don't have to spill everything, just one honest sentence. I'm not okay. Let that be the key that unlocks the door. Even John Steinbeck, the literary legend, wrote in his personal journals that despite his accolades, he constantly doubted himself, fought depression, and felt isolated. His genius came with great cost, and his journals became his refuge. If words are your tool, write. If music soothes you, play. If silence is what you need, embrace it. The body can only hold unspoken pain for so long. Eventually, it will speak through insomnia, chronic pain, autoimmune disorders, emotional volatility. But it's not punishing you, it's protecting you by trying to be heard. In Ecclesiastes 3:1-4, we're reminded, there is a time for everything, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. If you've been laughing while your soul mourns, it's time to let your seasons align again. You don't lose your calling when you rest. You don't delay your mission by tending to your wounds. You honor it, you deepen it, you embody it. Because when the chosen one heals, the entire frequency of their environment shifts. Your healing is not selfish, it's contagious. Others begin to ask, if they can be that honest, maybe I can too. Let your cracks breathe. Let your armor rust. Let your soul stretch. You are not less holy when you admit you're hurting. You are not less chosen when you fall to your knees. In fact, those may be the holiest moments of your journey. So breathe, feel, weep, heal. The world can wait. Your soul cannot. God's chosen one. When your strength explodes into storms you can't contain. Have you ever surprised yourself with how angry you became over something small? Have you ever slammed a door, shouted words you instantly regretted, or broken down in a flood of tears, and then wondered, where did that even come from? Chosen one, let me ask you this. Could it be that what erupted wasn't about that moment at all, but everything that came before it? Not everyone holds back their emotions in quiet silence. Some, like you, overflow. And when that overflow comes, it can feel like a tidal wave you didn't invite. You scream, you cry, you lash out, you collapse under a pressure that's been mounting for far too long. And maybe the world calls it an emotional outburst. Maybe even you call it losing control. But what if it's actually something else? What if it's your soul finally exhaling all the pain it had no room to hold anymore? Many of God's chosen ones know this storm well. You carry so much pain, responsibility, injustice, guilt, compassion, that you eventually reach your limit. And when that limit is crossed, it doesn't show up quietly. It breaks things. It scares you. It leaves scars, sometimes on others, but more often on your own heart. The Bible speaks to this dynamic in Ecclesiastes 7:9. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. But what happens when you've done everything not to be provoked, and still the fire rises? What happens when the anger isn't just a reaction, but a release? You see, chosen one, this isn't about being foolish, it's about being full, so full of unspoken pain, unanswered prayers, unseen trauma, and unprocessed grief that your inner container eventually cracks under pressure. Can you recall the first time you exploded and felt ashamed afterward? Maybe it wasn't recent. Maybe it was when you were a child and no one helped you understand your anger. Maybe someone called you too much, too sensitive, or even dangerous. And so you started to hide it. You swallowed your rage. You learned to wear strength like a shell. But shells have limits, and what you bury alive will always fight to rise again. Consider Jim Carrey, known worldwide for his humor and wit, but underneath the laughter was a man haunted by depression, existential pain, and deep sensitivity. He once admitted, "Depression is your body saying, I don't want to be this character anymore." Now imagine what happens when you ignore that voice. The character breaks down, and that breakdown often looks like a meltdown. The explosion is not madness, it's a soul-breaking character. You were never designed to live in constant defense. The human body cannot survive in perpetual fight or flight mode. When anger builds without release, your nervous system begins to rewire itself around threat. Your adrenaline spikes, your cortisol levels increase, your muscles tense, your heart pounds. And this isn't temporary. Over time, the body begins to believe that life itself is an emergency, that the world is unsafe, that you must always be ready to defend or destroy. But that's not living, chosen one. That's survival. And survival mode will rob you of your joy, your creativity, and your ability to connect with yourself and others. Psalm 4:4 tells us, "Be angry and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds, and be silent." God is not afraid of your anger. He simply asks you to sit with it long enough to understand it, to feel it without weaponizing it, to explore it before it consumes you. Can you do that? Can you be brave enough to sit with the fury instead of lashing it out? Let's talk about the cost of ignoring this cycle. Some of you hold on, until the smallest trigger lights the fuse. A delayed text, a sarcastic comment, a missed call, and then the fire consumes everything. Your relationships, your sense of peace, your body, yes, even your health. Did you know that long-term exposure to uncontrolled emotional stress is linked to hypertension, autoimmune diseases, stroke, and even heart attacks? The body was never meant to hold trauma indefinitely. And when emotional chaos becomes your default setting, your organs suffer, your immune system weakens, your brain chemistry shifts. This isn't just psychological, it's biological. Britney Spears, another chosen soul misunderstood by the world, experienced a very public emotional breakdown. What the world called a meltdown was, in truth, years of accumulation, loss of autonomy, personal violation, fame-induced isolation. Her story became a spectacle. But to those who understand the inner world of chosen ones, it was a heartbreaking cry for help. Have you ever felt that misunderstood chosen one? That judged, that raw? Maybe your breakdown wasn't on camera. Maybe it happened in your bedroom with the lights off. Maybe it was during a drive when no one was watching, or at work behind a fake smile, or in the bathroom whispering, "I can't do this anymore." These are the sacred breakdowns, and they deserve your compassion, not your shame. Now let's clarify something. Anger is not the enemy. Suppression is. Pretending not to feel, stuffing everything down, convincing yourself to just move on. That is the poison, because eventually that which is not healed explodes. In Proverbs 14:29 it says, "Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly." This verse doesn't tell you not to feel. It tells you to slow down, to pause, to understand, not to suppress, but to respond rather than react. But how do you begin to do that when your mind is racing and your body is already trained to go into battle? You start by building moments of pause into your day, breathwork, silence, writing out what you're feeling before it erupts, moving your body through walks, dancing, or sacred rest, talking to someone safe, praying not just for strength but for space. Your soul doesn't just need to be strong, it needs to be spacious. Alan Watts, the philosopher and speaker, once said, "Trying to control the future is like trying to control your own heartbeat. The more we resist what's rising, the more force it returns with." You were not called to control every emotion, but to steward them with grace. And yes, you may have failed yesterday. You may have said something harsh. You may have broken someone's trust, or even your own self-image. But that's not where your story ends. You are in process. You are not your past reaction. You are not your worst moment. You are a soul under construction, and God never stops building when a storm hits. In Lamentations 3:22-23, it is written, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning." That means today, yes, even after the breakdown, is a new beginning. A sacred reset. A chance to ask yourself, what would it look like if I honored my emotions before they exploded? What would it look like if your strength didn't mean holding everything in, but learning to release things in sacred ways? Write, speak, move, pray. Shout into your pillow if you need to, but don't keep letting it pile up. Don't wait for the eruption. Naomi Campbell, known for her strength and fierce presence, later admitted that her notorious outbursts came from unresolved trauma. Her healing began when she stopped justifying her explosions and started understanding their roots. She said, "I had to do the work. I had to understand why I was angry." And you, chosen one, are ready to do that work too. You are not broken, you are burdened, but burdens can be laid down. Emotions can be named, triggers can be transformed into teachers, and your soul, your radiant, sensitive, powerful soul, can find peace again. So let's ask again, what are you still holding that's waiting to explode? What would happen if you expressed it before it became destruction? Start small. A journal entry, a breath, a prayer, one sentence to someone you trust. "I'm not okay, but I want to be." God doesn't just call the strong, he calls the surrendered. And being surrendered doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've stopped trying to do everything in your own strength. You've chosen clarity over chaos, peace over performance, healing over hiding. You were chosen to be light in dark places. But even light needs fuel. Even fire needs air. Don't suffocate your soul trying to shine for everyone else. Let your emotions breathe. Let your spirit rest. Let your body heal. And most of all, chosen one, let yourself begin again. God's chosen one, your spiritual healing, begins with emotional truth. You long to hear God. You yearn for his presence, don't you? You want to feel him in your prayers, in your silence, in your everyday walk. You want clarity, guidance, a whisper from heaven that confirms your path. And yet, sometimes, all you hear is silence. The connection feels faint, like static through a divine frequency. You ask, why is he not answering? But, chosen one, what if the issue is not his silence, but your inner noise? Have you ever considered that the heavens are not far away, but simply muffled by the storm within you? That the static is not external, but emotional? You're not alone in this struggle. Many chosen ones spend their lives trying to reach deeper levels of spirituality, thinking the answer is always to pray more, fast harder, give more generously. And yes, these are holy practices. But when done from a place of avoidance rather than presence, they become a mask rather than a bridge. You see, chosen one, there's a secret many overlook. God doesn't just want your discipline, He wants your truth. And your truth begins with your emotional honesty. In Psalm 34:18, it is written, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit, not the perfect, not the emotionless, not the invulnerable, but the brokenhearted." That means your sadness does not push God away, it pulls Him near. So let me ask you, when was the last time you truly acknowledged what you were feeling? Not in a journal entry, not in a scripted prayer, but in a raw, messy, vulnerable moment. When was the last time you let God hear your unfiltered heart? Spiritual healing begins not with more words, but with more awareness. If you want to hear the voice of God clearly, you must first quiet the chaos inside, and that requires emotional clarity. Chosen one, you were not created to suppress what you feel. You were created in God's image, and that image includes emotion. Remember, Jesus wept. He felt agony in Gethsemane. He flipped tables in the temple. He did not hide his emotions. He honored them. You are not less spiritual for feeling broken. You are not less chosen for struggling with fear, anger, or grief. You are not failing because you cry more than you speak in tongues. These emotions are not enemies. They are signals, teachers, invitations to go deeper, not just into your soul, but into God's heart. C.S. Lewis, a man known for his theological brilliance and deep faith, was devastated by the loss of his wife, Joy. In his grief, he wrote A Grief Observed, admitting he felt like the door to God had been shut in his face. But instead of pretending all was well, he laid bare his doubts and despair. And in doing so, he encountered God in a deeper, more honest way than before. His spiritual healing began with emotional awareness, not denial. And now it's your turn. What pain are you pretending doesn't matter because you think it will go away with more prayer? What grief have you been tucking under worship songs and religious rituals, hoping it will vanish if you just serve harder? Let me be clear. Spiritual practices are powerful, but they are not band-aids. They are meant to be extensions of your truth, not substitutes for it. When you show up to prayer without emotional honesty, you're only bringing part of yourself to God. And God doesn't want the edited version of you. He wants all of you, the messy, the confused, the aching, the exhausted. That's what makes your surrender sacred. In John 4:24, Jesus says, "God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth." Truth, that's the missing link for so many chosen ones. You're worshiping in spirit, but you're not bringing your truth. And without truth, the connection becomes clouded. Your emotions are not a liability, they are sacred indicators. They point to what needs your attention, your love, your care. When your soul aches, when anxiety visits in the night, when grief tightens your chest, those are moments when the soul is knocking, asking to be seen. Princess Diana, often regarded as the people's princess, was known not only for her grace, but her emotional vulnerability. She battled depression, eating disorders, and loneliness, even while performing royal duties. But when she began to speak openly about her emotional struggles, the world saw a new kind of royalty, one that bled, cried, and loved deeply. And through that, she became a global symbol of compassion and truth. You too are called to walk in truth, not in perfection. So how do you begin this journey? Start by pausing. Before the next fast, before the next deep prayer session, before the next act of service. Pause and ask yourself, how am I really doing? Sit in that moment without judgment. Let the tears come. Let the anger rise. Let the confusion be spoken aloud. Then take all of that and bring it to God. unfiltered, unpolished, real. That is sacred, that is worship, that is healing. 1 Peter 5:7 reminds us, "Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you." Not some, not the ones that sound spiritual, all, even the messy ones, even the ones you've been hiding from yourself. And yes, sometimes spiritual healing requires earthly tools. Therapy is not a contradiction to faith, it is often a conduit. A good therapist is a gift from God. Journaling, counseling, support groups, these are all spaces God can use to unravel what you've buried. Demi Lovato, singer and activist, once said that their healing began not on a stage but in a therapist's office when they stopped pretending and started processing. Their openness about mental health has helped countless others drop the shame and embrace the process. If God can use music, words, and people to speak to others, why would he not also use emotional healing spaces to speak to you? You can pray and go to therapy. You can quote scripture and cry from heartbreak. You can be deeply spiritual and still admit that you're struggling to get out of bed. This doesn't make you unworthy. It makes you real. And God works with real. Let's be honest, there is no full divine presence where repression rules. There is only disconnection, because God dwells not in pretending, but in presence, in honesty, in vulnerability, in the heart that says, "Lord, I'm tired and I don't even know why." You have permission to feel. You have permission to not be okay. You have permission to pause the performance and sit in the presence. You have permission to rebuild without rushing. You have permission to heal slowly, without guilt. The more you allow yourself to feel, the more space you create for God to move inside you, not just around you. In Matthew 11:28-29, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Rest is not inactivity, it is holy restoration, and your soul cannot rest if it's constantly repressing emotion. So if your mind is tired, if your body is aching, if your spirit feels far from God, maybe, just maybe, it's not a spiritual crisis. Maybe it's a soul calling for attention, for nurture, for truth. Speak that truth. Whisper it if you must. Cry it, write it, sing it, but don't keep hiding behind the mask of spiritual strength. Real strength is found in surrender. You don't have to choose between being chosen and being human. You can be both. You can lead others while learning to lead yourself with grace. You can carry divine fire while still needing comfort. You can be powerful and still need peace. And here is the good news. The more whole you become emotionally, the clearer your spiritual signal becomes. The more you process internally, the deeper your connection externally. You'll begin to feel God, not just in churches, but in your own chest, not just in sacred texts, but in everyday stillness. Heaven doesn't just want your praise, it wants your peace, and your peace begins when you say the sacred words, "I need to take care of myself. I need to feel. I need to heal." This is not selfish. This is sacred. Chosen one, you've endured the kind of weight that would have broken others. You've smiled while your world was crumbling. You've prayed for others when no one knew your own soul was bleeding. And all the while, you've kept walking, kept showing up, kept giving. But here's the question you may have forgotten to ask. Who is carrying you? You've become the light for so many, but somewhere along the way, you may have started to forget that even the brightest flame needs protection. You've cared so deeply for others, held their fears, encouraged their dreams, wiped their tears. But when was the last time you sat with your own? When was the last time you let someone see you? Not the role, not the responsibility, but the real you underneath it all. Carrying light is not a light task. It draws beauty, it draws destiny, but it also draws pressure, opposition, and unseen demands. And you, chosen one, because of your deep spiritual sensitivity, absorb it all, what's spoken and what's hidden. You feel energies in rooms others ignore. You see through people's pain even when they smile. You carry more than what's visible. And while that's part of your calling, it's also a reason to care for yourself more fiercely, not less. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." But how can you guard what you never give time to tend? How can you sustain others if your own well is running dry? So, let me ask you, have you been ignoring the signs your body has been sending? The fatigue that lingers no matter how much sleep you get, the heaviness in your chest, the tightness in your shoulders, that sense of emotional numbness where you smile out of habit but no longer feel connected to your own joy. These aren't random, these are alarms, whispers, sacred warnings from within. Chosen one, even angels must rest their wings. Even prophets pause to recover. Even Jesus retreated from the crowds to restore his soul. Why then do you feel guilty for needing space? Why do you think rest makes you less faithful, less strong, or less chosen? Mother Teresa, the very embodiment of compassion and sacrifice, admitted in her letters that she experienced long seasons of inner darkness and fatigue. Her light was strong, but she was still human, and part of her faith journey was learning to honor her limits without shame. You too are allowed to be both divine in calling and human in need. There's a quiet danger in always being the strong one. People stop checking on you, they assume you're fine. They lean on you, but never think to ask where you lean. And you've learned to carry not just your own life, but the emotional weight of everyone else's. That's not strength, that's survival. And survival is not the same as peace. In Isaiah 40:29-31, it is written, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." You were meant to soar, not crawl beneath burdens never meant for you. But you can't renew what you refuse to admit is depleted. Let me ask you something bold. What if your calling didn't require self-destruction? What if your mission didn't demand you lose yourself in the process? You've probably been praised for how much you endure, but enduring isn't the same as thriving, and God didn't choose you to become a martyr of burnout. He chose you to become a vessel of light, and light needs fuel. Flame needs oxygen. Spirit needs rest. Think of Chadwick Boseman, the beloved actor who gave us some of the most powerful roles in cinematic history, all while battling terminal illness in secret. He was a chosen one, no doubt, a vessel of dignity, courage, and depth. But what would his story have looked like if the world had given him permission to be vulnerable? If he had felt safe enough to rest in the light he carried? Who gives you permission to rest? Let it be you. Let today be the day you return to yourself. You see, the spiritual ones often forget that their human parts matter too. That praying is powerful, but so is eating well, getting sleep, having boundaries, saying no without guilt, and crying without explanation. In 3 John 1:2 we are reminded, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health, and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well." That verse doesn't separate spiritual wellness from physical and emotional health. It holds them together. Because God never meant for your soul to thrive while your body and mind suffer. So why are you still ignoring your own humanity in the name of being useful? Chosen one, your burnout is not your destiny. Your weariness is not your testimony. Your worth is not measured by how much you give while secretly withering. True spiritual maturity is not found in constant output. It's found in balanced, authentic connection with God, with others, with yourself. Selena Gomez, admired for her strength and artistry, once admitted publicly that she had to step away from the spotlight to care for her mental health. Her body was speaking, her mind was waving red flags, and even though millions expected her to perform, she made a higher choice: restoration over reputation. That's not weakness, That's wisdom. You may think you don't have time to stop, that too many people need you, that if you let go, everything will fall apart. But what if you're the one falling apart slowly, and no one has noticed because you're too good at hiding it? Let this be your wake-up call, not from me, but from the God who sees you behind the scenes. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not more tasks, not more pressure. Rest. Take it. Not someday. Now. Your soul is not a machine. Your body is not disposable. Your calling is not a death sentence. Your joy is not a luxury. It's your right. Start with something simple. Breathe deeply. Place your hand over your heart and say, "I matter too." Let that phrase crack the armor. Let it make space where expectations have built cages. If you're afraid to rest because you think it makes you lazy, remember that Jesus slept through a storm. He wasn't lazy, he was anchored. Rest doesn't mean you're ignoring the mission. It means you trust the one who gave it to you. And if you've been waiting for a sign that it's time to take care of yourself, this is it. Drink water. Turn off the noise. Take a walk. Say no to something that drains you. Take a day to simply exist without producing. These things aren't distractions from your calling. They are maintenance for your soul. Fred Rogers, the gentle voice behind Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, often reminded adults and children alike that it was okay to pause, to feel, to grieve, to be honest. He once said, "Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable." In other words, healing starts where we give ourselves permission to speak and feel. So here's your permission, chosen one. You can be chosen and be tired. You can be powerful and need peace. You can be brave and still cry in secret. You can be anointed and ask for help. None of that disqualifies you. In fact, it deepens your authority, because your light will never burn brighter through denial, but through truth, through honesty, through balance. Let your body heal. Let your soul breathe. Let your mind rest. You are not here to save the world at the cost of losing yourself. You are here to be a light, but even light needs someone to protect the flame. Return to yourself, chosen one, not because you've failed, but because you've given too much without replenishing. Not because you are weak, but because you're ready to be whole. And in that wholeness, your light won't dim. It will intensify. It will move differently. It will burn cleaner. It will bless others, not from your emptiness, but from your overflow. This is not the end of your mission. This is the beginning of your restoration. Beloved chosen one, if this message touched your heart, I invite you to be part of this movement of healing and truth. You were not guided here by chance. Something in your soul is ready to shift, to awaken, to be heard. So now I gently ask you, which of these 5 signs spoke the loudest to your spirit today? Take a moment to reflect, and when you're ready, share in the comments the one that resonates most with your current season. Your story, yes, your story, has the power to not only heal you, but to shine a light for someone else walking through the same silent pain. Let's walk this sacred path together. The chosen ones were never meant to carry it all alone. You deserve care. You deserve peace. You deserve to come home to yourself. I want to take this moment to thank you from the depths of my heart for joining me here. Your presence, your openness, and your courage to face what lies within. That is holy work. And whether you choose to support this message with a super thanks donation or not, please know I see you and I am truly grateful for you. Your energy, your participation, and your healing journey are already a divine gift to this space. Every comment, every like, every prayer matters more than you know. And as we part for now, I speak blessings over your life. May your heart find rest. May your mind be renewed with clarity. May your body receive the healing it longs for. and may your spirit rise into the fullness of who God created you to be. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming exactly as heaven intended. With love, with truth, and with light, go forth in peace, chosen one.